50 years. People say that time heals everything, but that's not true. Time doesn't heal, it just buries. I remember the smell of rain on the pine that night. I remember the sound of my own heart, so loud it felt like it would break my ribs. I was 22 years old. I used to think loneliness was poetry, a noble escape, That place taught me that true loneliness isn't peaceful. It has teeth. Those first days in Tower 7 were exactly what my young, arrogant soul wanted. A silence you could physically feel, heavy as a blanket. I felt like the king of a silent kingdom. I would scan the horizon with my binoculars, take my notes, drink strong coffee as the sun rose over an endless ocean of trees. The smell. It was the smell of sap and damp earth. It was peace. And then, on the 5th day, the peace ended. There he was, a figure in the valley, too small to be a bear, too still to be a deer, a man. My first reaction was logical, a stubborn hiker who ignored the signs. A poacher? I wrote in my journal, certain that by the next day he would be gone, but he wasn't. It's funny how the irrational mind fights back. On the 2nd day, I told myself he was just camping. On the 3rd, that maybe his equipment was broken. On the 4th day, when I reported it over the radio, the voice on the other end assured me with an unsettling certainty that there was no one in that area for 80 kilometers. That's when logic started to unravel. That chill wasn't from the mountain wind. It was something new, unmoving in the landscape. And one afternoon I saw a glint, a flash of light. He had his own binoculars. My job was to observe, but suddenly, I was the only thing being watched. The forest stopped being a place and became a witness. The wind that once whispered poetry now seemed to whisper my name. Boredom had turned into a terrifying vigil. The night of the storm was when everything changed. The sky turned the color of a bruise, and the world outside became a chaos of wind and rain. The radio, which was my only connection to humanity, died. The white noise that used to comfort me was replaced by absolute silence, more frightening than any sound. I was on an island in the sky, and the rope had been cut, and the figure in the valley disappeared. For a moment, I felt such a strong relief that my legs gave out. A moment until lightning lit up the base of my tower, and he was down there looking up. I ran inside, my blood frozen in my veins. I turned the lock, the sound of metal like a gunshot in the silence. And then I heard the clearest sound in the world amid the storm. Clang. Paused. Methodical. Clang. It wasn't someone in hurry. It was someone who knew I had nowhere to go. Clang. Footsteps on the metal stairs. Slow, deliberate, coming up toward me. They stopped right outside my door. The sound just stopped. I stayed there, in the dark, huddled in the corner, barely breathing, waiting. Waiting for the metal door to creak, the glass to shatter, the doorknob to turn. Every creak of the tower's wood in the wind. It was him testing the door. Every howl of the storm was the door giving way. I waited the whole night, but nothing happened. When the sun rose, the sky was clear, washed clean. The stairs were empty. He was gone. I never saw him again. I left that tower the next day and never set foot in a forest again. People often ask me what I personally think he really wanted. To climb all the way up there and then do nothing. They don't understand. I understood that night. He didn't need to break down the door. The goal was never to get in. The goal was to make sure I knew, forever, that he could. And that knowledge is a prison far worse than any watchtower. 50 years, and that door in my mind is still locked. And I'm still in there, waiting.